This is Listening with Franklin Livingston, and our guest is Jason Lamberth.
I have noticed and reflected a lot on this, how a term changes the whole concept of something.
Mm-hmm.
And we talk about prayer, but this is an example. When I was maybe in my teenage years, uh, I met someone who was from a different tradition than me and said, "Okay, so what time is the meeting?" They were asking me what time was a church service at a particular service. But I grew up in a tradition where it was called service. And I did not know at that point in my life that there are traditions, they call it a meeting. Because meeting for me was a corporate meeting. You wear a suit and you sit and talk about business. And service was, which starts with a procession and a hymn and all that.
Yeah.
But the whole concept was so different because I did not have awareness about that. I was just ignorant about a particular tradition or traditions. And the same thing, I think, when this is a little funnier-ish. I had a very close friend, and she and I were in the same grad program, but she already had a licensed. She was a licensed therapist, like MSW type. And she came from, I think, Baptist background, not from the South, but here I think she was from New Jersey. And I would ask her something, and she would say, "I'll pray about it." I don't know how I asked her once, because I saw a pattern. And then she mentioned that sometimes in her own upbringing or subculture, when people say, "I'll pray about it," means I'm not going to do it. It's a polite way to decline your request. And I was like, "Why do you have to use that term to say, I don't know if I can do it?" But she was like, "Yeah, that's not polite." Right? So in my mind, okay, so prayer, just say that if that was the only time I heard that term prayer, it might have had a very negative connotation. Same thing with mystic, as I mentioned, because in my mind, long ago, long before, mystic was somebody who'd had
long beard, like a Gandalf,
yes, exactly, and someone who just cannot work at any human level. It's great to hear the other perspective that that's not it means. So the term should not confuse us.
When I started having all of these sort of discoveries and realizations, and I immediately wanted to start talking about it to my kids and talk to, but I think there's a verse in the Bible that's Paul was saying, it's not legal to talk about these spiritual happenings, and he wasn't saying it's against the law. He's basically saying, don't do it because they won't understand, and then they'll be confused, and then it'll just cause problems. And so what I have to learn, and what we all have to learn eventually, you have these spiritual realizations, or the fact of seeing Jacob and Esau symbolically, are just, I don't know how to describe it, but it's just like when you realize it and you understand it, and you're like, my God, that's beautiful. Like it's like going to see the David and in Paris, in the Louvre or wherever, like these or the Mona Lisa or something, and you see it and like, wow, that's the Mona Lisa. I've seen it all along, and there it is. It's right there, and then you see it, and all this other stuff just starts. Wow, it's more beautiful than I even imagined. It's like, and it's when you start to uncover these truths, and you get the key, like, oh, this is what that means, and then you start to learn, like, don't just take it for the number, like 400. Like the Israelites were in the desert for 400 years. Well, that's but the 400, that's the symbol in the Hebrew, it's a cross, and basically that's there's all of these other different things there when you start to, but you can't know that when you're just starting out because it's too much information.
Right.
It's too much. So when the teacher's ready, when the student is ready, the teacher will come. I think getting back, circling all the way back to religion and prayer and getting all mixed up on the things and why some people misinterpret. And then the Santa Claus story too. I meant to tie this all hopefully up in a nice little bow. The Santa Claus story is highly symbolic. The Santa, the saint, saint is coming down the chimney, which is sort of like this awareness, like they talk about Jacob's ladder is basically the spirit going up your spine. And there's all these symbolic things, but an 8-year-old is never going to get that. So first you tell them, Santa brings all these presents and you just wake up and they're there. And but it's not about that. Eventually, when you're older and you like, it's a beautiful story and it's a true story. Do I believe in Santa? Absolutely, but not this guy with a red beard and not the literal thing. Those are personifications of a spiritual thing, and that story is as real as you can get. The same thing with the baby in a manger and all of that stuff. Like there's so much symbolism there that as you get older and you can find, like, it's the story literally is a story. It's a great story. It ends kind of bad, but
right.
But
every story is not a happy ending.
Yeah.
No, that's very powerful. So what I did in this movie, starting from the name, the name is abrogation. Now, abrogation is not the word you use commonly, unless
you'd have to look it up. No,
right?
Usually, yeah.
Unless it's a legal system or some sort of political system, but then you have to see the title in the context of the whole story. A couple of times I just gave a hint of numerology. You talked about numbers and spirituality, and because what I thought, if someone understands it, they'll get it, or they'll try to explore it. If not, they'll say, okay, that's a cool number.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with the names you mentioned. So my character's name is Daoud, which is the ancient, I don't know how it's in Hebrew, but I know in Urdu language or Arabic language, Eastern part, it's Daoud with T. You know that TH in the phonetics we learned in acting school? So it's Daoud. And my character now is in a constant battle with Goliath. Right? We don't talk about that in the story. Will everyone get it now? And you're right, they should not. I mean, if I start there, guys, let me tell you, then it will be so confusing. Well, okay, what is she talking about? Same thing, there's a character, Sophia. At surface level, she belongs to a rejected part of the community, or group of the community, if you will. And Sophia means divine wisdom. Now, I don't know who really go after that in that fashion, because some people might just not like the story, especially who come from more theologically conservative or very traditional mindset. They might not agree with me. As you mentioned, when you looked at the story at a surface level, you're like, oh my God. But when you go
so
deeper, when you go deeper,
so unfair.
Absolutely. So let's see. I mean, I'm looking forward to having some people relate to it, but it might not be a lot of people.
So back to, I think it has to be that way because I wasn't ready to understand that literally. the Jacob and Esau story. I wasn't ready for it. The soil hadn't been prepared yet. I needed 40 something years, or 50 years actually, uh, for the soil to be ready for me to be able to take that. Because we could have had this conversation 25 years ago, and uh, um, I would have been open to it, and we could discuss it, but not to the level that we are. 35 years ago, I would have just got up and walked out, because this guy's a devil. He's worshiping you know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
Still,
and people and
Yeah.
you know, people in my family are like that. Like they just can't. They're just not ready for it. And what I've learned is that's where the symbolism comes in. You can tell a story. We can tell the Santa Claus story, and you and I will get the deeper meaning. But the kids can play along too, and they'll get the meaning.
Right.
You know, and that's where the whole spiritual, the wisdom, is so beautiful. You know, it's approachable from any level, and it will unfold for the person that's ready for it at any level. And as you start to get these symbols, and you start to get also you've got life experience. Like, I know what it's like to be abandoned, whereas at 15 I didn't. I had no idea what that was. I grew up in a very loving family. I didn't really ever get abandoned. You know, I don't know what that is. But then after a few more years of experience, then I got the experience, and then I could sort of understand some of the stories on a deeper level. You know, and I think that's how I can justify God setting up the whole thing of like, well, why don't you just tell us from the beginning? We wouldn't have been ready.
Right.
So and these things are they're so subjective. You have to feel them. You can't read them on a page.
Right.
You feel it, and then you feel the feeling, and then you match the word to it. But it's still not it, you know, because it's subjective. And this is kind of like, it's unlawful to talk about these things. Means don't start blabbing about the visions that you got last night, or the dream, because it says God will speak to you in visions and dreams. Dreams, you know, you can interpret them. You know, it's not necessarily it's the same way of the Bible. Like, if I might have sex with a younger a woman that's not acceptable in the real world. And if I wake up, I'm going to feel dirty. But if I understand the symbolism is that she was representing eternal youth or eternal wisdom, and you were this union was you're coming into union. So if you take it from the literal, you'd be shamed. You know, you'd never tell that to anybody.
Right.
But if you take it from the symbolic level, this is a whole different game. And that's kind of like that's where we are with religion. Like, if when I go home, my family goes to church still every Sunday, and I just choose not to go. And for a while, I kind of felt a little bit bad, but I didn't really have I just wasn't ready yet to be able to talk to them and to be able to justify why I'm not going without offending them. But as I've gotten older, and sort of now I can do that. I'm like, well, you know, I don't go just because I don't really say anything to them, actually. I just accept it, and kind of like the Santa story. I can't tell them Santa's not real right now, because it'll just blow them. Like I said, when I found out that Santa wasn't real, it completely crushed me. The truth destroyed me. And as I got old, you know, it didn't take long to look back and like, oh wow, isn't that cute? That's so sweet. I wanted to fight for my right to believe in this Santa, and then you took that away from me. And I feel like that's the same thing with the spiritual stuff. Like, you can't just start blurting out, because I was having all of these realizations, and I was just blurbing them out to my family, and they all thought I was crazy. And I think,
And a lot of people, I think, also then they lose focus. I've seen battles, not like physical battle, but quarrels and this conflict over these things. So you're talking about New Testament, Apostle Paul a lot, where I think Apostle Paul lays his hands and gives the Holy Spirit to someone. And they're like, okay, why can't I do? Why doesn't it happen? And so their focus changes or shifts into these things that, in my opinion, might not be of any importance in an average believer's circumstances. And so I think, yeah, there's a power. I actually wondered this you clarified when he says it's illegal or unlawful.
yeah,
Which means it's not good. It's not beneficial.
yeah, it's not
right?
beneficial.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could actually be, it could be a negative experience if you start talking to people about things before they're ready. It's kind of like, yeah, I mean, yeah.
It's like Jesus saying, I'll rebuild this temple in 3 days.
Yeah, yeah.
And then what was the outcome? Mockery.
Yeah, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I don't know if even his disciples believed it.
Yeah, yeah.
They're like, oh, really? He's crazy.
Yeah.
But these days, the fear is people might think you are a cuckoo, you are a mentally ill person.
Yeah.
And then, so you can go thus far.
Yeah.
And I think we have less, I don't know those days, but nowadays it's more like less accepted. And if you talk about supernatural, even just a smidge of it, you are considered someone who's having issues.
Yeah.
What did you drink last night? Oh, are you on drugs?
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think it's wise to.
Yeah. Yeah, you have to kind of pick your... And so then you can tell the Santa Claus story, and maybe 100 people are in the room, and maybe 2 people will get the symbolism. And after you've told your story, maybe you can have a nice conversation with those 2 people. But the other 98 people will have taken that story literally. Oh, there's this guy with a red coat, and he comes and he gives you presents for free out of nowhere. And his elves make them in the North Pole, and they'll... That's where they're able to get it. So I kind of feel like now I've learned, I don't talk about any of this stuff, and it's nice to be able to talk about this stuff here.
Absolutely.
I don't really talk. I don't talk about it to anybody, not to my kids, not to anybody, because it's also there's it will happen when it happens. Like I said, if people like now like this conversation came out of nowhere. I got you on backstage.
We didn't.
And I just because my interest, with all honesty, is I was like, yeah, I want to have a podcast. And he's going to do this thing. And I'd love to go over there and talk about it. And also just get the lay of the land. Like, okay, so you need this to do a podcast. Okay. And that was my initial thing. But also it's like, oh, so he's talking about some spiritual stuff. Well, that's cool. Well, don't talk about any of that stuff. On that, because then you're going to get in this thing,
There's also a taboo type, which I think it's breaking down, that if you're an actor or a movie star, then you don't talk about religion at all.
Yeah.
And I think it's changing. It's getting a little bit easier. And I don't know why, but I mean, I as I mentioned, like I come from that part of the world where.
Did you grow up in a Muslim?
In Pakistan? Yeah. So,
but then you got introduced to Christian.
No, I did not grow up as a Muslim. I can talk about that in the next episode.
Oh yeah.